brief introduction about the doctors, Dr. Girish and Dr. Suvarna Alladhi. In the meanwhile, please keep admitting. I'll just read out the introduction about doctors, okay?
Yeah, I'm doing that.
He is going to
Okay. Dr. Suvarna Alladhi is a professor of neurology at NIMHANS, Bengaluru. Dr. Alladhi was a Commonwealth Research Fellow in Cognitive and Behavioral Neurology at Cambridge, UK in 2004. On returning to India, she established one of its first memory clinics in Hyderabad that provided multidisciplinary care to more than 2,000 patients with dementia. Recognizing the limited availability of diagnostic tests for dementia in diverse contexts, Dr. Alladhi coordinated a multi-centric study that adopted cognitive tests for different Indian languages and for literates and illiterates. In the background of a rapidly rising burden of dementia, creating awareness and organizing community support for dementias became a focus of the NGO she co-founded in Hyderabad. Dr. Alladhi has also made an effort to represent priorities of less developed societies in international platforms and meetings. She is LMIC representative of Vascular Professional Interest Area Group of Alzheimer's Association, and she is also the president of World Federation of Neurology Research Group on Aphasia and Cognitive Disorders. A warm welcome to Suvarna Alladhi, Dr. Suvarna Alladhi. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. As we also, Dignity Foundation also have 2 dementia centers. I'll just brief up about it. Mahim DDC offers daycare facility for dementia patients, operational from Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Services offered free pickup and drop, activities like chair yoga, hand-eye coordination, games, music therapy, lunch, tea and coffee twice on arrival and before departure every day. This facility is totally secure. Female caregiver for female patients. Facility is centrally in. So this was a brief of our dementia centers. So welcome once again to one and all present here. So over to you, Dr. Suvarna Alladhi.
So a very good afternoon to all of you. It's an absolute privilege to be back with the members of the Dignity Foundation. I'd like to thank Dignity Foundation, all its members, and Dr. Sheelu Srinivasan, who's the founder president who created this wonderful platform. I've been here before, and I have been here during the COVID pandemic, and we are now, it's been probably the most dreadful time of all our years. So congratulations to all of us who have survived and who have, we are still carrying so much worry and pain of all the experiences that we have had, but we've made it. So we have to be happy today that we're able to talk to each other. So good afternoon to all of us. Dr. Sujay Joshi, COO of the foundation, for giving me this opportunity. It is indeed a big privilege to be talking to all of you, and I look forward to interacting with you. Brinda Ramesh, who is our friend, who's actually making sure that we are accountable to all of you and that we address you in all the, that introduction is nothing. I think all those achievements mean nothing if we are not able to connect and be able to convince all of you that the work that we are doing is actually relevant. So thank you, Brinda. And Dr. Girish Rao, who is actually my colleague and my partner in everything that I do with dementia. And I'd like to thank him for coordinating this. And there are so many chapter heads and coordinators of the different branches of Dignity Foundation. So thank you and welcome to all of you. So shall I share the screen? Shall I start?
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Can you see my screen? Wait. Sorry, this is not the one. 1 minute. Yeah. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see.
Right. So I think when I first started the talk, I came onto the Zoom platform, I heard that all of you already know about dementia. So I won't talk much about dementia. You are running daycare services. So it just means that you are doing what needs to be done for people with dementia, for people living with dementia. So today what I thought we will do is, I will, of course, it is related to dementia, but how do we keep our memories as we age? So I thought this is something that a lot of people are worried about, but at the same time, it's a very exciting time for scientists because we now have understood how to protect the brain. How do we keep brain health? So I would like to introduce you to the concept of brain health. So we know about cardiac health, we know about mental health. So, but without our brains, without our memories, we really are not much. We are our memories. So how do we protect our brains? So our ability to recognize Deepika Padukone, for instance, memories of our events, the marriages that we attended, our own marriages, the functions, the holy, the happy moments, the scary moments, that's when the tsunami smashed us. This is also part of our memory. Recognizing Charminar, if you're a Hyderabadi, or depending on where you live, Vidhana Sauda or the Taj Mahal, all of this form define who we are, and indeed we are our memories. Sometimes what happens is the brain can get affected, it can have disease in it, and in that case, all these memories, one by one, we can lose. And this is the disease that we call dementia. When we actually lose our ability to communicate, our ability to read, write, understand space, have judgment, control our emotions, understand another person's point of view, empathize with people, and read. So all of these functions that we call cognitive functions or intellectual functions, which we use day to day in our lives, actually are lost in dementia. And that is why it's so important that we keep memories, and it's so important for us to keep our brains healthy. So this is, what is healthy memory? It's complex in the brain. It's a network of cells, of synapses, of gray matter, white matter, connections. They all work together, so we actually are able to function in a normal way, and it can be as complex or even more complex than the space machine that you were seeing here. And what are the different kinds of memory? Holding information. This is what Vishwanathan Anand uses when he's playing his chess game. He's thinking of his old moves, he's thinking of his new moves, he's thinking about the opponent's strategies, his various wins, losses, his experience, and then he's planning his next move. So this is what memory does. Working memory is being able to bring all of this together in online processing and actually make our next move in life. It could be going to the shop and buying something. It could be playing a chess game, anything. It could be for most of you who are here, it could be the touch of your grandchild. You don't need to be told which one it is. You hold the hand and you know that this is your grandchild. So that could be a memory of touch. Music. It could be the memory of playing the harmonium, playing the piano, playing a musical instrument. So memories are not just remembering things that are told to us. They're also memories of space and touch and sound. So you can see how complex memory is as a function. And all this happens in our brain. When we smell the jasmine, we think of our mothers or our grandmothers. This is also memory. This is another kind of memory called associative memory. So these are all different functions in the brain, the different brain areas are used for, so we can actually function normally. And again, each of us is wired differently. Our brains are wired differently. And so we might all go and visit the Taj Mahal, but we might remember it so differently, depending on our experiences, our point of view, the time of day. So no two people remember the same thing in the same way. So that's what makes us all very special. And this is what happens when this complex brain is diseased due to, and our memories fail. And that is dementia. And dementia has not spared anybody. It is not any one group of people or one age of people or one geographic area of people that can get dementia. It doesn't spare the famous people. It doesn't spare the mightiest of people. There are any number of examples of people who can develop dementia. So it's a disease of, it's a very democratic disease. Anybody can get the disease. Not even the most handsome person can escape it. So this is our problem. All of us are at risk, can be at risk. All our families can be at risk. And that's why we need to understand it, recognize it's a disease causing memory loss. It's a major public health problem. There are 5.2 million people living with dementia in India. But the good news is, to some extent, nearly 40% of dementias are preventable and can be treated. And the focus of this talk will be, in the next few minutes, I will spend on this. As our elderly population is increasing, so are the numbers of people with dementia increasing. And our aim is to bring this down by doing enough in our lives so we can actually bring down the societal burden of dementia. Less than 65 years, it's not very common. It's 1 in 1,000, but more than 65 years, it's 4 to 5 per 100. And by the age of 80, it could be as high as 1 in 5 people who may develop or who are at risk of developing dementia. And why is it important? People with dementia have special health needs. They have, people with dementia, we call it a cognitive disorder. They have major social problems, medical problems, and it also has economic implications for society and for individual families, as you all know. Taking care of a person with dementia can be depleting, so socially, medically, economically, psychologically. So what are the diseases that actually cause memory loss? The most common one is when the brain degenerates, and that's called Alzheimer's disease. But what is less known is that there are other causes of dementia as well. So dementia is just an umbrella term. So I'm often asked, what is dementia? What is Alzheimer's disease? Dementia is an umbrella term. So anybody with a memory loss or cognitive decline has dementia, but the cause may be different. And Alzheimer's disease is a cause of dementia. It's a type of dementia. So you have the umbrella term, dementia, and then you have Alzheimer's disease as a subtype of dementia. There is stroke, which causes vascular dementia. Recurrent head injuries can cause dementia. Chronic alcoholism can cause dementia. Thyroid and vitamin deficiency can cause nutritional dementia. Infections of the brain, and sometimes some medicines which we take, which are sedatives or which are not very good for the brain, can also cause memory loss. One needs to be aware of them. So coming to Alzheimer's disease, you can see in this brain scan here that there are certain areas of the brain where you can see the arrow mark where they're not functioning very well and they're shrunken. These are the temporal lobes, which are important for memory, the parietal lobes in the early stages. And then as the disease progresses, the entire brain shrinks. So you can see here the brain which has shrunken. Normally you don't see so many gaps between the different gyri and sulci. Those convolutions, they're tightly packed together. But in a person with dementia, they kind of open up because the brain has shrunken. And this is a normal brain cell. And when there is amyloid in the brain, so what happens in Alzheimer's disease is there are two proteins that get deposited, amyloid protein and tau protein. And when they get deposited in the brain cells, you have this is a neuron with tangles and plaques. So these cause amyloid and tau cause tangles and plaques. And then the brain cells shrink. And that is why the brain shrinks. And that is the cause of Alzheimer's disease. So this is a normal PET scan. PET scan is when you actually inject a radioactive substance and look at the brain functioning. So this is when the brain is active, how does it look? All these red areas are active parts of the brain. And so this is a normal scan. But this is the PET scan of a person with Alzheimer's disease. So you can see there is hardly any red in the cortical surface. It's all green and blue. That means that part of the brain is not functioning. And that is how we make a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. It is not necessary to do a PET in all patients at all. We can just manage with a CT scan or an MRI, but we do PET more for research, or sometimes in certain persons where we are not sure of the diagnosis, at that point we can do a PET. But you can see very clearly the difference between a normal person's PET scan and a person's with dementia, how their PET scan looks. Now, the other cause of dementia, as I mentioned, is a vascular dementia due to strokes. If hypertension is not controlled, it can cause recurrent strokes in the brain. And this is simply completely preventable, treatable. So it's very unfortunate in India, where 30% of people only with hypertension are treated. Nearly 70% of people with hypertension are not treated. And we think BP treatment is not important because we don't know it doesn't be just BP. It's a silent killer. When you have BP, you don't know you have high BP. The doctor will tell you, but you feel all right. Doctor will tell you, you take medicines, but you say, it's okay. I mean, I'm feeling all right. But that kills the brain slowly, slowly, slowly. It's not just heart attacks. It can produce strokes, and it can produce massive strokes. It can produce small strokes, and the brain can get diseased. So it's very, very important. Uncontrolled hypertension is the cause of stroke. Similarly, diabetes, if it's untreated, can produce brain disease. Heart disease, when the heart is diseased, the blood supply to the brain becomes less, and that produces dementia. Chronic smoking, chronic alcohol abuse is also an important cause for dementia. So people can have, in addition to memory loss, they can also have paralysis, difficulty in speaking. So this is the second most important cause of dementia, especially in our countries. Now, do all people, elderly people, experience cognitive decline? Is it part of normal aging? Yeah, if somebody is old, so maybe do they forget? It is true that the memory may lose its edge after 40s. After 40s, you don't have to be very old. Learning new things can not be as, a baby learns so much in the first few months of life. A child that's not able to walk learns how to walk. So the brain is very, very, very active in young age, but for 40, it's a little difficult to learn many new things. And as age advances, it's difficult to keep track of many things simultaneously. Complex written material, even a normal age, can be a little difficult to digest. But immediate memory is not affected. And in fact, as we get older, vocabulary improves, experience is gained. So the brain is full of experience which the youngsters don't have. So therefore, I think normally, as a person ages normally, they're very well kept in their cognition and memory. So memory loss, if it is significant, it really typically means that there is some kind of disease, but it has to be significant. For just forgetting somebody's name, or forgetting where you kept your glasses, or forgetting some acquaintance, some phone number, or forgetting all the list items that you wanted to buy in the shop. Out of 10 items, you buy 7 and come back. All this is not dementia. It's quite normal to forget those kind of things. It's only when you forget your own family member's name, or you're not able to find your way back from your own office that you've been going to every day, and that kind of, you can't name a phone or a pen, common things. That is when we say, okay, this person, it's affecting your day-to-day life. That is when we say it is dementia. Otherwise, normal, all of you who are here, who are able to log in, who are able to interact and recognize each other, that is absolutely, that is the way one needs to age. And that is actually successful aging. So what happens when a person with dementia comes to the clinic? We think, is there memory loss? Is the memory loss really part of disease, or is it just normal, nothing to worry about? What is the cause? And then what can be done? So this is what doctors do. And this happens typically in a memory clinic, but it can, any neurologist or any psychiatrist can diagnose dementia. But after diagnosis, what we need, like you all are doing, is daycare, multidisciplinary care. You need speech therapists, occupational therapists, social workers, psychologists, who have expertise in management of persons with dementia. And typically memory clinics offer medical support, diagnosis, treatment, counseling, and speech and occupational therapy. So coming to the main part of the talk, can we keep our memories? Can we keep memories alive? So to answer this, we need to know who is at risk of developing dementia. Can dementia be delayed? Can dementia be prevented? So the most important thing is by controlling vascular risk factors, you can reduce the risk of dementia. If a person controls hypertension, treats diabetes, avoids alcohol, stops smoking, the risk of developing dementia comes down significantly. So important. And then what we now know is that there is a life course perspective on cognition. That means how we live our lives can help us prevent dementia. And this is through life, all through life. Education. People who are educated have a better, I'll show you later, but have a lesser risk of developing dementia. People who have engaged in complex occupations and more which involve people dealing with people, dealing with data, dealing with the complex things, actually protect their brain. So occupations also have a role to play in developing dementia. What all of you are doing here, you're here, it's a complex leisure activity. You're engaging, you're listening, you're thinking of what I'm saying, you will try to reflect, and then you will go back and tell somebody that, we heard this. So being a member of Dignity Foundation will be a complex leisure activity for the older participants. So that is preventive. And that builds what we call cognitive reserve. Physical activity, very protective for the brain, and social engagement. Being with another person, all of this prevents dementia. So we call it use it or lose it. So the more we use your brain, not to the point that it is stressed, but engaging the brain in intellectually stimulating activities can protect against dementia. And research shows that high levels of neuronal activation, that means brain cells get activated by intellectually stimulating activity. And so even if the disease is coming closer and closer, these cells are able to push it back and buffer against neurodegeneration. Now if there's one take-home message from this talk, physical exercise. Physical exercise reduces risk of cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease. It could be vigorous, moderate, light, any amount. It's about 30 to 45 minutes, 4 or 5 days a week. If one exercises, you can see in the scan below, the yellow part is actually the areas that actually become thicker. There's greater volume in these areas in people who have exercised. So this is what science has shown us. And this is what I would like to convey to all of you. Exercise. Again, do it according to your capability, what you like. There's no one form. People ask what kind. I said nothing. It can be dance, it can be playing. You have to move your body in complex ways, and that kind of builds a brain. So it could be your favorite form of exercise. It could be yoga, it could be walking, it could be any form of exercise for that matter. Nutrition. So while we don't know specifically in Indian food what protects, what is known is low fats, high fruit and vegetable consumption, high legumes, cereals, fish, low on dairy products, low on meat. This is protective against developing dementia. And what we saw in India, there's just the fact that we speak two or more languages. Just by switching from one language to another. Speak in Marathi, speak in Hindi. Speak in Kannada, speak in Telugu. Speak in English, speak in Malayalam. So just that, it's also a mental activity. So in India, we are so many of us speak so many languages. That already is good for the brain. And this is a research that we did in Hyderabad, where we found that if one spoke only one language, the age at onset of dementia was 61 point something years. But if one spoke more than one language, 66 years. So you're actually talking about a 4 to 5 year delay in age at onset of dementia if one could speak more than one language. And this is something that has been found across populations in the world. So if you know another language, just start speaking it. and find people to speak it. It's going to protect your brain. Stress is not good at all, even in midlife. So if we are all trying very hard to lead a very effective life where we go out and achieve stuff, but if there is stress, there is research evidence that it increases risk of dementia. So we have to reduce stress. Steroids in the brain are not good. Cortisol is not good. I took this picture from the Dignity Foundation website. This is the most protective factor after physical exercise. Being with each other. Research has found that people with more companionship had reduced risk of dementia. Loneliness is not good. Greater emotional support was associated with reduced dementia risk. And that's what I meant by saying Dignity Foundation is doing such a good job. They did it in COVID. And what we found in COVID was people who were isolated had best decline in cognition. We did interviews with people with dementia in last year and during the lockdown period in May. Then we did it in November. And again, now we have recently interviewed all 100 of them. And we find that people who have had social isolation, people who have not been able to go to daycare homes, where they were not able to interact, their cognition declined and dementia got worse. And the availability of social support, therefore, appears to be associated with a reduced risk of subsequent dementia. And that is why the COVID pandemic has been so bad. And that is why what Dignity Foundation is so good, where they did not let this happen. Cultural engagement. This is an interesting study, snippets. The people who went to museums had a lesser risk of dementia. So this is very novel for scientists because people don't want to think about linking life like this to science. But that is evidence that if you go engage with a hobby, think about this painting, it's stimulating the brain, you're making connections, you're talking about it. So this is something that also has been found in one study to reduce risk of dementia. Playing a musical instrument increases what we call plasticity. Plasticity of the brain means the brain is able to reorganize itself and grow and change in a good way. Like bodybuilders remodel their body. By living your life well, you can remodel your brain. And that playing a musical instrument, it's a very intense multisensory and motor experience. You play the instrument, you listen, you have rhythm, you have tempo, you have melody, you have words. And this enhances intelligence, spatial intelligence, verbal intelligence, mathematical abilities. And you can see in the scan that it also improves connections between different parts of the brain. So musical proficiency can build cognitive reserve. And finally, this is also very interesting. People who reported higher levels of purpose of life. So people who had a purpose in life, they were able to function better. So this is a brain of somebody, say, who had higher purpose of life and delayed dementia. And then there was a study where, you do autopsy, study the brains. It was found that in spite of having dementia in the brain, they were able to function better. So these are the questions that were asked, that we told us that people who felt these things, I feel good when I think of what I've done in the past and what I hope to do in the future, is protective. I have a sense of direction and purpose in life. It could be a cat that you're taking. It could be a garden that you grow. It doesn't have to be save the world purpose of life. It could be I'll make my neighbor, the student neighbor in my flat, however the next generation is, I will make them a nice dish when I feel like or when they need it. So some purpose in life. I enjoy having a plan for the future. I enjoy making plans for the future and working them to a reality. And then feeling I'm an active person and carrying out the plans I set for myself. So people who answered this questionnaire and said yes to these things actually had a lower risk of developing dementia, which is, I think, very interesting, but very useful for us to know. So this is how we can model our lives so that we can prevent dementia. Therefore, to summarize, normal, healthy aging and memory is a reality. So when one is getting old, one doesn't have to worry that one would lose one's memory just because one is old, but it should be valued. It can be preserved. How we live our lives can keep our memories alive. And for those few unfortunate people who do have Alzheimer's disease and other dementia, we need to do everything that we can to support them so that they can get help from society and from healthcare systems. With this, I will thank you for your kind attention. And oh, I'm too fast for senior citizens. Shall I repeat myself?
No, 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 no. Let me speak, Dr. Alladi. It was absolutely spellbinding for me.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm breaking the queue before even giving a chance to the team to say thank you to you and welcoming your other doctor to come. But I've been so fascinated, I thought I should break in and say, no, 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 you are absolutely fine. Yeah. Over to you, Brinda.
Madam Girish Rao will speak now, or how it is actually, how you have.
No, I think I said I will speak and I want an interaction with all of you. So don't worry about Dr. Girish. If he wants, he will speak. If he comes, he's a very, kind of crucial for our institute. So he does some important things which draw him away sometimes. So he will join. When he joins, I'll watch out for him. But till then, I think we should interact.
Fine, fine. So we can have some questions from our members, right?
Absolutely, yes. I'm happy to take
questions, doubts you can clarify with doctor here.
Yeah.
Can I go first, Brinda?
Yes, ma'am, please. Please, ma'am.
Thank you. Dr. Alladi, in Bombay, about 90 kilometers from Mumbai, we have a residential center and massive building now newly inaugurated for dementia care. And there is accommodation for 80 people to live there in independent rooms and with a fully professionalized staff and all that. The one point I wanted to make to you is once when I had gone to Netherlands, I came across this snoezel-on therapy. Snoezel-on therapy is a high-tech multi-sensory environment that stimulates all the failing senses one by one. So we have set up a very high multi-sensory snoezel-on therapy hall. And any of your colleagues coming to Bombay, please do tell me. I would want to specially take them and show them, because we have already started seeing some of the results. It is about 3 months now, but our psychologist has already started seeing a lot of difference in the dementia patients. As you said precisely, you do so many activities, you can control the rate of deterioration of dementia. This is just one point I wanted to make, and so that we can have the benefit of NIMHANS, your observations and how we can improve in the quality care of dementia.
So first of all, I'd like to congratulate you. This is so needed in society. For a long time, it was felt that, we Indians, we like to take care of, which is true still, we want to take care of people at home. We don't like them to go to a residential care setting. It culturally, what will our neighbors say? What will our relatives say? What if I send my father to a residential home? This was the conversation in dementia circles that we used to see the last 20 years. They would be very reluctant. But what we are now seeing with dementia is that it can produce huge amounts of carer stress. It can produce, it can change the way the carers live their lives, their choices. You have a young woman, her mother-in-law has dementia, and she has a 10-year-old child or a 14-year-old child who's taking up the board exams, and everything depends upon that exam. And it's a small 2-bedroom flat somewhere, and they are trying their level best. There is no dearth of love here. And what do? And sacrificing the future generation for the sake of an older person is very typical of Indian culture, Indian behavior. We say, no, our elders have to be respected. So for this, This is one example where respite care is so important, at least for a few months. Go spend some time.
Yeah.
But for that, we need really good residential care systems. And I think that is what you're talking about, because you started off saying that they have trained carers and you are trying your best to, and then this is a story I hear from, the other example I would give is NRIs, parents in India, children abroad. You can't expect them to come back. It's not fair to anybody. And if you ask the mother or father, they would say, I don't want my child to come back and sacrifice their lives. But what do you do in that case when they're living alone? What do you do? So there are some very helpless situations and I think doctors, because generally patients listen to us, we should start talking about it. We should assess the caregiver stress levels. We should have social workers that will actually talk to them and see in the family. And then, as I mentioned, there's another we had a recent Alzheimer's conference last weekend, and there was a whole session on residential care systems. And I was talking to one of the people who runs a residential care system in Hyderabad, and they were saying that a very, very behaviorally impaired woman at home comes to this nice open air, lots of light, lots of gentle caregivers who are trained, who are there for that purpose. And this is the behavior just improved. So the key is to have a good residential care system. And if that is there, I think we need more and more of them. And regarding therapy, there is no doubt that in cognitive stimulation, intellectual stimulation, emotional resilience, physical activity slows the disease down. About this, there is no doubt at all. Now, which form works? Those are the details.
Yeah.
You want to spend too much money on something like this? You can do it in a simple way. You can do it in a complex way. But I am pretty sure if your carers are observing that they're getting better, the next patient who comes to me from Bombay, because I'll say, look, go and check this out.
Yeah.
Even medicines are like that. They work for some people, some don't work. You try it for some time. It seems to work. Great, continue it. Evidence has to build, and that will take some time because scientific evidence takes some time to build, but we are not going to wait for that evidence to build. If it's not expensive, if it is not harmful, and if somebody who's using it is saying it works, I think we should definitely do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions?
My name is Rajappan. Can you give me 1 minute, please?
Reduce the seriousness of
Madam,
dementia.
I'm Rajappan. Can you give me 1 minute?
Yes, please, sir. Who's coordinating? Brinda, you're coordinating. You decide.
I am Rajappan. Can you?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Doctor, the very big question mark in present elders are they are being isolated. They don't have any contact with their own close friends and children and others because everybody is engaged. Husband, wife are employed. Children goes to school. These old people are alone in the house. They are unable to have any contact, any discussion, anything. For example, I'm telling you, people from abroad, they are sending money to their parents and they are taking food and sleeping alone will not cause you any good thing. And one passive, lovely word from the children will have more effect than giving thousands and thousands of rupees. The main what they sent to their parents, in தமிழ்ல சொல்றாங்க மேல முக்கிற ஈயை அவங்க அனுப்புற இமெயில் விரட்டாது. That's why the isolation can be, if it is can be avoided, dementia can be avoided. Thank you.
Correct, sir. Next is Padmanabhan, sir. You can.
Sir, that is why the Dignity Foundation is there.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Can you explain the dementia and autism?
And
Autism.
artisan?
Yeah, autism children.
Autism. Huh?
Yeah. See, my grandson is affected with autism. At the age of 1.5 years, now he is 10. how to deal with them? Is that related to any brain? You told some it's a brain problem. How to deal with them? Can you explain, please, madam? Doctor?
So, yeah, thank you for your question. Autism is a disease of the brain which happens in children, because of which their social skills are affected, their intellectual skills are affected, their ability to interact socially is affected, their development is affected. It can be sometimes very mild, in which case they have some behavioral problems, but it sometimes can be very severe, where the person needs a lot of support to their day-to-day life. So like, it is definitely something there is a problem in the brain, but it is not a structural problem. So far, if you do a scan of a child with autism, it will look normal. It is more to do with the connections in the brain which we cannot see today on the scans. It's more a functional disorder. It is the functions of the brain are not improved. It's typically seen in children. Dementia, on the other hand, is again seen in people who were otherwise normal and then started declining. And there is a structural, there's a protein in the brain. It makes this brain shrink. It destroys the cells. So this kind of thing doesn't happen in autism. The structure and looks all right by the current methods of brain imaging. And depending if it is mild in your grandchild, then I know Chennai has there are a lot of people who are doing very good work with children with autism, but a kind of treatment is very similar: sensory stimulation, music, behavioral therapy, all of that, the kind of intervention that we do and support that is provided, education, all of that, groups, all that is very similar across any disorder of the brain. So there are similarities and there are some differences.
Hello.
Brunda, can I
Hello.
talk? Can I ask a
think you
question?
raised a question. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Can I ask a question, madam?
Yes,
Can I-
Hemalata ma'am can continue. Yeah.
Okay. So good evening. It was a very nice talk, very, very informative. And the current present situation we are all facing, elders. And thank you so much. Everything was done very well. Thank you, Shilu madam, for this program. I want just to know whether forgetting is normal. As you say, temporary forgetfulness is old age ka hai. But too much of forgetting, too much. If I go there, I forget. If I come here, I forget. If I take a WhatsApp and I want to call somebody, I forget what I wanted to do. So is this any cause for worry?
So what you're explaining to me is an attentional problem. So we use the word forgetting in many ways. The kind of forgetfulness that you have is more forgetfulness rather than forgetting. It's attentional problem. So first, to remember things, supposing I'm saying something, you must first pay attention. You say you kept your phone somewhere. You must pay attention that you kept. While you're keeping it, you have to pay attention. And then you have to store that information. So you have to make an attempt to say, okay, I kept the phone here, and tell yourself, I kept the phone here, and learn that information. And then after some time, if you've forgotten, we call it a true memory loss. But typically what happens in attentional problems, when you don't pay attention, or it can be because of fever, it can be because of migraine, it can be because of vitamin deficiency, it can be because of stress, anxiety. All these conditions, we don't pay attention. So we are keeping so that kind of continuously forgetting small things here, there, why did I call? That is an attentional problem. That still requires some attention. So you should see, is there a thyroid problem? You can meet a doctor once. Is it a thyroid problem? Is it a vitamin B12?
Reports are all normal. All
then,
are
then little bit it is stress only, and you have to train yourself. When you're doing something, don't do two. Multitasking is not good. Do one thing at a time. Do one thing, finish that. Then you go to the next thing and you finish that. And when you're doing something, and supposing you meet somebody, you hear their name. They'll tell their name, but you have not paid attention. After some time, what is that? You never paid attention. I don't mean you. I mean, we do it, right? So pay attention and then see if you are able to remember. And if you're still not able to remember, then it's a problem. But this kind of memory loss, which you're talking about, to me, it sounds like
Thank you so much.
multitasking and all that.
I have relieved actually. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, madam.
Hello,
Thank you.
hello.
Can I
Hello,
ask one question,
ask one
madam?
question? Hello, ma'am. I'm speaking from Safdarjung Enclave,
Okay.
Chai Bhakti Center, Nirmala.
Yes,
Are you
ma'am.
able to listen? Yes. I would like to, I mean, it's not a kind of asking the question. I think these days, we are having a nucleus family. As you might have mentioned, I have just joined late. So I think in the joint family, we were not having this problem of forgetting because we were sharing our problem, our depression. And at the same time, I really feel that spiritualism really helps in maintaining our mental balance. So I would like to have your comment on it.
So when you're living in a joint family, we are supported in our daily activities by the people around us. So even if there is a mild memory problem, it often gets absorbed in the system.
Yes.
One person doesn't do it, somebody else will do it. So obviously support is very important. And joint families, there is a lot of support. But then again, the women were all doing the support. We want our daughters to work. My father wants me to work. So it's the nuclear family is obviously not as supported, but then the women are empowered. So we have to find a balance where we have adequate support in our homes. As men have to share the work, and children have to start doing things. So then I think the support will be there. But otherwise, living alone, living by oneself is always difficult. And it does challenge our memories. Regarding spiritualism, I think what we now know is meditation, it protects the brain. So spiritualism is good for many things, but what really changes the brain is meditation. And that is something which slowly we are advocating to strengthen the brain and keep our memories for longer. Spiritualism will reduce stress. Indirectly, it will help reduce stress. You can sing a song, you can be with people, join spiritual groups. I hope I answered your question.
Hello.
Yes.
Can I ask one question, please? Nagaraj.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nagaraj from Vidyaranipura, Bangalore, Chavdi. Madam, you told in your presentation that the treatment is there for this dementia and Alzheimer. Okay. In your treatments, or any doctor, specialist doctor's treatment, how much of percentage of improvement is there in the person affected with dementia or Alzheimer?
So today we do have some treatment for dementia, but we don't have a cure for it.
Yeah.
So we don't have any treatment that will cure somebody. So what we can do is we can slow the progression of the disease. So instead of deteriorating very fast, they will deteriorate slowly. But the treatment is also so that the family can manage them better. So if a person is not treated properly, if you don't do the speech therapy, if you don't do psychological counseling, they get very disturbed. If you don't change the house, if you don't modify the house so that they find their things easily, they will get very disturbed, they will get upset, they will get angry, they will throw things, they will ask the same question hundreds of times, they will pace up and down, they will not sleep, they will not let anybody sleep. So all these behavioral problems can be managed by changing environment, by changing how we interact with them. So it requires some skill, some training of caregivers, and that makes a big difference for the families. So this is what we are calling treatment. Regarding actual memory, how much memory that the drugs actually improve, it depends on what you value as. If you can remember a few more items on the shopping list, you can remember a few more names for some longer time. So that's the kind of difference these drugs actually make. Of course, there's a lot of research. Very recently, US FDA has approved its first disease-modifying drug. It's called, I didn't want to talk too much about it because it raises expectations. It's also very hugely expensive. It's some $36,000, but it is not making such a difference. But there is research. There's one more drug. So we are hoping with science, there will be better drugs. But as of now, we are limited with our treatments.
Madam, I have developed my own memory one technique of remembering names. So today, your talk was excellent, wonderful, and very useful also. Dr. Suvarna Aladi. And after some few months, if I want to tell somebody that I heard a beautiful talk, then I may not remember immediately. What I have developed is I will start telling, chanting ABCD. Okay, the moment I come to the letter S, I will remember Suvarna Aladi. And this has been going on. And then I have successfully been able to implement this one in all my throughout this thing. And I am just only 22 with 50 years experience.
Wonderful. I'm going to tell all my patients to try, not patients, I'll tell a lot of normal people come and say we're forgetting names. It's very common. So,
not only patients, anybody can develop this.
It's not patients. That's what I'm saying. It's for normal people. All of us forget names. I'm going to use this technique now.
Yes.
Thank you.
It has
Good
been
evening,
working very
madam.
successfully.
Good evening.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, madam. Can I ask one question?
Sure,
I'm
sure.
from Bangalore. I don't know whether it comes to your section or not. What is the cause for MND, motor neuron disease? Any?
We don't know, madam.
Okay.
I wish we knew.
Okay.
We don't know. So small percentage this can be a genetic problem, but there are many for whom we don't know why it comes. So it's not a good disease at all, and it's very distressing to the family, to the person, but we don't know. There is no, why did this happen? We cannot say it happened because the person did this or did not do this. So there is no cause as of now.
Okay, Raghu sir, you want to ask something? You have a hand raised here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
First I want to praise the doctor because for such a beautiful analysis and given such a narration, really, we can thank you so many times because the way you have told it has gone so deeply. Now, what my point is, whatever as a person getting old, age by age, see what are the activities slowly coming down is very, that is why when 60, when we retire, then 70, all children are gone, 80, we get. So your statistics very clearly proves after 80, every 5, one will be in dementia. That is one dangerous level. So our dementia, our Dignity Foundation and all, that is so good. All you said we are doing, singing, acting, some new talents, language, some summary writing or something like that. We involve, that gives lot of involvement because no one to track. My 2 sons are there in US, but nothing. We have got good contact, everything, nothing to worry about. Financially one problem that is solved, half of the problem will be over. That is there. Then this, as you said, once we get into this language learning or something, whatever skill, some skills are there with us, which we are not exposed when we were all very busy doing so many works. Now is the time to get into people, get into the relations also, get into the religion. That is really, I am doing some Gita and other classes and all. Whatever, whether it is Christianity or anything, you get into religion. You have got a lot of free time. Better to get into that. That will solve a lot of it. Only thing I want to ask is, between the gents and females, whether there is any differentiation in this dementia, who gets more or why that is there, isn't anything, or if one gets, whether the other one will also likely to fall into, because attending, whether we will also get into that.
No, not at all. Yeah, well, scientifically, this is a very, very, very brilliant question because all the research is happening in this. It was thought for a long time that men are more risk, but now it has become clear that women are more at risk. So overall, women are more at risk. It could be hormonal, it could be many reasons. We don't know why still. Slightly higher chance of risk, that's all. But otherwise, no. And no, by taking care of a person with dementia, you do it is not infectious. It is not contagious, but you can definitely have stress, burnout, depression. You can have many other problems, but it is not contagious at all. No.
Thank you.
Doctor, I am Rajappan again.
Yes, sir.
One thing I want to tell, the problem with the older people, the elder people, say I am 85. If they can keep themselves away from the day-to-day events and the activities of the youngsters. There's a lot of tension can be avoided. See, they interfere, with the children. This you don't do, you do this one, you do that. Because nowadays the technology and everything has changed. The old people cannot go along with them. The younger, but the small fellow, 2-3 years old, he is operating cell so nicely. We don't know what to do. Likewise, what I can tell or request our elders to avoid interfering with the day-to-day events of the youngsters and be listen unless you are asked to give advice.
This is what my father is 90 years old. He's staying right now with me, says. You should not ask, actually very bad. They say we should not ask youngsters, why are they coming? Why are they going? What are they doing? He says we stop asking, but I feel very bad. I think you should ask. But apparently the elders feel that they're not told, and I wish it was not so.
Madam,
I would like to contradict this fact. In fact, I think if we interact more with children, we are more active and we will more. Don't interfere in their work, but you interact more with them. That is much, much better.
I thought
for us.
Perfect. I mean, this is the most wise thing we have heard. Interacting with the next generation is going to protect the brain. Interfering will not. Thank you so much for putting it so well.
Thank you.
Interacting with grandchildren.
Children, grandchildren, anybody.
Children will not have time.
Hello,
There's
madam.
Jayanti Madana Gopal. She wants to ask. She's been raising her hand for some time.
Madam, I am Shivakumar, Bangalore.
Shivakumar sir, Jayanti madam will continue. One second, Shivakumar sir.
I'm being muted now and then. I've been trying to. Hello?
Shivakumar sir. Sir. Kumar sir, let Jayanti madam finish. Next will be your question. Sorry to do this. Okay. Yeah. Jayanti ma'am, you can continue.
Yeah, like when I've started, yeah, thank you. When I started forgetting names or when I'm talking to somebody about something, when I have to organize something, there are certain terms which I'm supposed to remember. Then I keep then I said, I'm sorry, I'm not able to get it. So what I have done now, whenever I have to talk to a person concerning something, all the names which are important and I can't forget, so I write it down. So that way I don't hesitate. So I'm doing this sort of a thing so that I remember, especially when I have to have an important meeting or some terms which is required for me to remember. So I said better to write it down so that I don't keep on saying, sorry, I can't remember. Is that okay to remember things?
Right.
Or I'm just taking this excuse so that I don't make an effort.
Not at all. It is the absolutely right thing to do. Going unprepared and expecting your memory to help. I prepared for this talk. Everything that I said in this talk, I went through my slides. I must have given this talk several times, but I won't get the right word unless I practice. Preparation and practice is very normal. There is nothing wrong with it. And writing actually improves the memory in the brain. So the motor function of actually writing the name, writing it directly improves the memory. So what you're doing is one of the strategies that we advocate for people who are actually forgetful. And so it's not an excuse at all. It is the right thing to do.
Okay, good. So that you don't hesitate and you are prepared for everything. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Shivkumar sir, you can just give your question now.
Madam, I put 3 questions at a stretch. Don't mistake me. Kindly keep it in memory. Memory in order. I'm not testing you.
I am going to write it down. I will take Dr. Jayanti's advice and I'm writing it down. Please tell me.
No, that box also is there. You can settle it.
I can't hear you.
No, simply I must.
Please.
Three questions. Does regular coffee consumption prevent onset of dementia? Number one. Number two, do activities stimulating right brain functioning will reduce adverse impacts of dementia? Three, do engaging in non-rational activities, not irrational activities, like reciting slokas, watching the prattles of baby, etc., give rest to the non-stop static by left brain, which is constantly bombarded in the present age of information overload, and help in preventing dementia?
Right. Excellent questions. We have a neuroscientist in our midst. So coffee, there are some studies which say it reduces the risk. I think too much of coffee is very bad because it can produce ulcers also. And it improves attention, it stimulates the brain. None of us can function without the morning cup of coffee. So coffee is good in general for improving alertness and cognition. Some studies have shown that maybe coffee drinkers of 2 to 3 cups may have a reduced risk, but that is there. Then regarding left brain, right brain activities, it is true that there is a concept of left brain being very verbal and logical and right brain being creative and non-verbal, but that distinction is also being questioned because, you know, the brain kind of functions together, but there are certain areas that are, so definitely if one is spending their life talking and giving talks and reading, and then you have to have off time for that activity and you have to engage in non-verbal stimulating activities. So yes, doing different kinds of activities is very important, and giving, okay, you want to call it rest to certain activities and doing something different. It builds flexibility and it is very important, and it has to be encouraged. Yes. Shlokas, you said. And yeah, Vedic reciters of Vedic chants. There's a study done in Delhi by NBRC which showed that people who've been chanting the Vedas for many years have areas of the brain, again, like musicians, that are slightly thicker or have little more gray matter, and so it is also thought to be good for the brain. Yes.
Can we proceed to next question by Mr. Kumar?
Yeah. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Doctor, actually, my father was 95. He died last year. He was very active. He was the head of an NGO also. And people used to accuse me, why you are just troubling him and why don't you just give him some rest? I was telling that the busy schedule and the activities only keep him healthy, and he was very healthy except for diabetes. He was not having anything, and it was also under control. But the first lockdown of this COVID has stopped activities of him. Nobody has just come. He was just living in a village where he was running the NGO. We are having a home for the aged, home for the children, school, everything. He was managing everything. When the lockdown came, actually people were not coming to him and they're not taking anything. And he started telling that he has lost everything. Everything has gone from him. Slowly, that only has just taken his life. We could not identify what was the problem. And he stopped everything. He stopped eating and those things. Actually, we were not in a position to identify that it was dementia.
Very sorry to hear this, really. As I mentioned earlier, COVID was not good. It has isolated people. People have declined, and it could be many things.
Physically, he was not affected by COVID or anything.
No, COVID had two effects. The infection had its effects, but the social and physical isolation had equally bad effects.
Yeah, we were not able to identify that.
Yeah. No. One more thing I tell all patients who come and family members, there should be zero guilt.
Yeah.
Absolutely no guilt. This is not something that we don't have. There is no awareness, and it's not something that we are told beforehand. We are unprepared. So if the doctor tells you, no, it was there, that was also dementia, and then the family members feel so bad that I should have. Not at all. 9 out of 10 people would have done the same thing that you have done. And it was unfortunate, and whether you made a difference or not, it's very difficult to say. I can see Dr. Girish here. Brinda, Dr. Girish is there. I think you people have to hear him say some things. I think I've said enough. Please, Dr. Girish.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. I was listening to all the questions and also the answers. It's really wonderful interacting. I think one thing which immediately comes to my mind is how do we define and what do we say is normal? I think all of us have got that doubt, whether what we feel difficult is normal or otherwise. And that's a tough question. Many a times we want a solution because suddenly we feel whatever we do is abnormal. And that is why I think Dignity Foundation, Brinda and the entire team, I think you're doing a wonderful job, because that's a forum when people can come together and discuss. I think that's a phenomenal job. I'm sure there will be a lot more questions, and one session is always inadequate, and there will be more and more of questions. I'm also looking at the time, 5:38, and I know there will be more time for questions. Brinda and team, one thing which immediately comes to my mind is possibly you can make a group of people from amongst yourselves, from the larger group, who can put in questions on a dashboard or in a bulletin board and then answer. So possibly we can say after you have some 50 questions like that, we could possibly review those questions and then say that this could be sort of a list of questions. I think there will be several common questions which could be reviewed. That would be something phenomenal. Frequently asked questions. Once you say we cross the mark of about 100, then we can sit together for about 1 hour and then review it, and then that could be made available to all of them. That's also a good thought. Madam, what do you say about it? And then we could take it from there.
Before you came, I introduced you as my partner in everything that I do. So that is why Dr. Girish, he will push us to the next level. I think it's a great idea. And instead of giving intermittent talks like this and, running out of time, and people who are gentle will never get an opportunity to ask, please put them all together and you can send them to us. And we will definitely be very, very honored to. I got a lot of tips from all of you on how to improve memory. So the questions will make us think, and the questions will make us try and get solutions if we can provide them. So I think it's a great idea.
Definitely. I'll make this effort, like through my coordinators and chapter heads, and definitely we'll frame that group and we'll meet once again with valuable questions from our members. Sure. Nice idea this is, Girish. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think, can we close the session now? Is that what we're looking at?
Till 6 we have time. If you have any information to be given, we are very happy to receive.
Yeah, I think Mrs. Madhu Thakkar, she has raised her hand.
Madhu ma'am,
Madhu madam, please go ahead.
Sir, I just wanted to clear the routine, what we have every day in the morning till the night. If we pen down these things, whichever thing we find important for the day, will that help to keep our brain function on a regular level?
Okay.
Or we have to do more of written work or more of study work to keep it busy?
Okay. I look at it in this manner. Whatever helps you to do better than what you're doing currently is useful, number one.
Okay.
And then as Madam was saying, and also I think Dr. Jayanti, Mrs. Jayanti Madan Gopal mentioned, writing will enhance that ability.
Yeah.
So which is why I think we now have got a lot of apps available on the mobiles to do things and to remember things, and then it will pop up and then tell you.
Right.
So you don't need to go back to remember, at least it will give a buzz and then you'll be able to remember. So in that sense, whatever helps you to do better than what you're doing, because that's what is more important. Because finally, we should not regret that we didn't do something. So if that has helped you, good, please.
All right. Thank you, sir.
like rote learning, we will simply memorize it without looking into the logic of it. In our boyhood days, we used to cram the tables and all. We will cram it, how a particular multiplication simply we will vomit out.
Okay.
So that people are telling the rote learning is because the logic, brain gets a logical thinking, only after a certain period of time and all, and we should not force it to worry about it.
Brain, I feel, is such a phenomenal thing, such a remarkable thing that it's got its limitation, but it will definitely remember what it could do or how it can. I remember one thing, we have got a lot of redundancy in our brain. For example, I still remember my physiology saying that 17% of our lungs are active. So that means to say it's still got reserve. Now we need to work with improving our reserve ability. And these are several techniques. These are several techniques which will help us improve our reserve, improve our cognitive reserve, improve our social reserve. And that is where, again, let me come back to this issue, which again, Madam brought in. At points of two things. One is keeping our social reserve intact is also a challenge. Many a times we, as someone said, we tend to interfere rather than interact. I think I would say that's the golden words for today. A very big take-home message. Rather than interfere, we interact. And that interaction will improve our reserve. May not be in the way what we would like to have, but at least that interaction will expand and open up a lot more avenues and vistas in ways unknown to us. Coming back to the specific question which you raised, whether rote learning, knowing 23 tables is important now, I'm not very sure, but at least I'm sure the 13th table which I learned when I was forced to learn in my 8th standard is helping me. Yes, it has helped me. But doing something different from what we are already doing is something which we need to take care of. That's where which will expand our horizon. Let us not just look at that. I would link it up to another thing. Physical activity. Physical activity is something more important, and as we age, somewhere our abnormal walking itself will become sort of normal. Please look at your chappals or your shoes. I'm sure we will see one side of the chappal is much more used rather than the entire one. And then we will feel comfortable with it over a period of time. Now, possibly bringing back physical activity, learning how to walk properly or how to see that we keep a balance in our in the waist, in our pelvic region. I think those are smaller things which we need to take care of. Let me give a personal example. I was talking to my auntie, my chikama. I asked her, just tell me, how would you walk? Now, just to show me that she would be able to walk, she started suddenly tilting and then walking. Now, that's what we do. We try to make up for the deficit, and points of time, probably that is not helping us. Now, that is where I would suggest to Brunda, possibly physiotherapist help can be taken, and then these are some issues which could be handled easily, which would be much more helpful. Yes, we need to start utilizing our brain. As Madam rightly said, use it or lose it. Now, we need to also be looking at some simple exercises along with we need to integrate that into our daily activities. I think Madam earlier said about dementia center, parent center. What I would suggest is possibly in all the areas, now in the public places, wherever you're looking at, in common places, have some simple physical activities which could become part of your routine. Long time back in Krishna Rao Park, we did what was called as with HelpAge India, we looked at what is called as a walking plus program. You walk, yes, 20 minutes. Plus also pay attention to a couple of other things which would help your neck, because when you try to look up at some point of time, some people find it difficult. Something is there on the top. You raise your hand and you're not able to do. Now that can lead to a lot more injuries and then difficulties later. So don't keep the two separate: physical health and mental health and brain health. Now we are putting together as a brain health as a very important thing. So physical health is also important for your brain health. Exercise for the brain and exercise also for the body. Take them together. That's very helpful.
Sir, do the breathing exercise, do they have any effect on the breathing?
Sir, can you come again? I didn't hear you.
No, you just, because now that you are raised mentioned about the exercise and all, do breathing exercise, does breathe have any connection with the functioning of the brain?
Yes, sir. Every breath is every time related to the brain. So,
no, but any connection with dementia and all, any proper breathing and any breathing trouble? No.
Okay.
Does it affect memory and all? I must.
Okay, let me make this statement. I'm making this statement with a caveat saying that subject to correction by madam. Let's not go overboard linking everyday activity to saying that will I get dementia or will I prevent dementia? One, yes, dementia is there. If you look at the total numbers, probably it is about 3 per thousand. 3 per thousand for a city like for a place like Bangalore or Karnataka. There are some numbers, 12,500 to 15,000 or sometimes even 20,000. But that doesn't mean that all of us would get it. Now, the issue is, one, there are several things which we need to do as normal human beings for protecting our health, for preventing several illnesses. I think we need to be aware about that, number one. Second, I would seriously advise or suggest or recommend or propose that let's do a lot of things for our general well-being. Not just get worked up saying that will I get dementia. As we have been discussing, simple forgetfulness is not dementia. Possibly looking at taking care of our routine diabetes, hypertension once a year, measuring our sugar levels or looking at tracking whether our BP is under control is important. So let's keep that as a larger goal rather than link every activity we do with respect to dementia. Madam, I'll request your endorsement or otherwise for this particular statement. Suvarna, madam.
I agree completely. We should not focus on this disease or the other disease. In general, what is good for us by body, mind, brain is also good for the brain. And we should not live with this worry that we will develop dementia, so we have to do this. That is what happened for cardiac health. And we don't want to fragment each organ, what is good for my liver, what is good for my kidney. So it doesn't work like that. The body works in harmony. Now they say what you eat affects the brain, gut biome axis. So they're all going to be linked. So, and it's not a common disease. But we can definitely improve our own cognition by living well. You can improve attention, you can reduce those mild forgetfulness by reducing stress, exercising, eating well, controlling diabetes, hypertension, and many of them will be advocated by experts in many other diseases also. So I think these lifestyle changes are very important that we have to advocate and we have to engage with. And there's evidence that it protects so many diseases other than just dementia. And not to live with fear and anxiety. I think that is the most important thing. I agree with Dr. Girish. I think is another important take home is this. let's not talk about dementia as some monster that is coming upon us. Value what we have today, I think.
Madam, can I ask one question? Seeing the present day lifestyle of the people, and we are all elderly people now, we have come a long way. And our lifestyle, comparing our lifestyle with the lifestyle of the present generation, our children and grandchildren, and the way they are very smart. Okay, do you feel that the dementia will continue for a long time, or they'll be there?
So,
After when they grow up?
yeah. So what has happened in the West is that the prevalence of dementia has already come down in the West.
Achha.
So it is not going away.
It's not going away. It has come down.
But it has come
reduced.
down. It has
Come down.
reduced. It has stabilized
Reduced.
at least. But in India, it's going up. That is why we are having this kind of. Dr. Girish was talking about a brain health initiative, dementia-friendly lifestyles. In our countries, it is going up because we are rapidly aging as a population. So, and we hope by then the treatments will come. We hope that there will be medicines. We hope that all the changes that we are advising will be taught in schools. So people can start exercising, playing an instrument, learning many languages, reducing stress, having a good work-life balance. They make all the right choices in their lives so their brains are healthy. Yeah.
Thank you, madam.
Doctor, one important thing is that we people always live either, we don't live in the present. We live either in the past or in the future. Once we forget about the past, worrying about the past and afraid about the future, then you will be all right.
Thank you for your wise words. We will try. I live very much in the past and the future. We will try, sir. Thank you for the advice.
We should not get worried about the past or about the future. Possibly excess worry. Thank you. Thank you.
Try to enjoy every moment of the present.
Yes.
Thank you. Like this
Hello.
one.
Hello. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Please.
I have maybe we want to forget the past, some incident which have happened bad, but it always comes in the mind, subconscious mind, again it comes back. You know, we say we have to forget the past and live in the present. The future also we do not know, but it is a difficult thing.
Mind is the cause for everything. Therefore, you should be able to control your mind.
Sir, it's very difficult, but I agree with you.
Don't mind, if I don't mind to interfere. See, forgetting the past, what he says, not to worry, as doctor said. Forgetting is itself a dementia only. That cannot be taken for that. It is only not to worry about the past. We remember the past. And we are, there one more difference I feel personally, this puzzle solving, there's too much of brain work and all. I think engaging the brain is something, and too much of brain work to be given or puzzle solving or this and all. There can be differentiated, no? We can learn the language. If it comes, we will learn language. We will do something work and all. Need not go that we must do it. We get into that because many people say you do daily some puzzles and this and that, solve it, sharpen your brain and all. Whether it is any differentiation can be made in that. I feel that engaging our brain activities and all, that is more than sufficient for our age and all. We can involve, if we know that I'm a mathematician only, I can do some mathematics, that doesn't matter. But somebody who has worried about mathematics, if I tell you do it, I'm doing, you do it, then it will be a problem.
Sir,
it is something like
the famous scientist Albert Einstein was a very great scientist, all of you know, but he was a very, very forgetful person. He used to forget to go to his own house.
Oh, God. If I can respond to that question which Raghu sir brought in, it is just like whether you go for your regular classes or you want extra tuitions. And sometimes children, when they are taken to tuition, from morning 6 o'clock to night 8 o'clock, they're in one tuition to another tuition to another tuition, which will not help them. So anything overdoing possibly is not helping us. Now that is where you need to sort of feel very comfortable in doing things. As you rightly said, okay, you are a mathematician, you have learned mathematics, taking it up as a hobby, making it much more, taking it to the next level will be helpful. But even overdoing exercise, we have now realized that it will not be helpful. 30 minutes to 60 minutes per day, yes. Less than 30 minutes, it will not be helpful. More than 60 minutes, possibly, again, dangerous. So that is why 150 minutes per week is what you should log in. If you are going more than 300 minutes, possibly, and you need to give 2 days holidays in between so that you can recover. Body should recover from that process. That is where healthy growth will happen.
Hello, excuse me. I would like to say something. Hello.
Yes, sir.
I'm 85-year-old now, and as you say, physical exercise and other activities. I do walking every day, 30 minutes. For the last 20-25 years, I was doing more, but now I have reduced this thing kilometer wise. Maybe 30 minutes for 1 kilometer. But I am walking regularly. Taking a break, of course, I do my other activities. I am in singing. Even Chai Masti, our Dignity Foundation, I sing. And at home also, I sing every night 10-15 songs. I have learned music. So this keeps me busy. I am alone, all alone. My daughters are there, but one is out of India, another is here. But loneliness, of course, is there. I try to keep busy. I am good at cooking also. Sometimes I.
You're muted, sir. You're muted. Please unmute yourself.
I do all the activities. So that gets me this thing. But loneliness, that is why I joined Chai Masti some years back. I am a member of Dignity Foundation for the last 15-20 years. I was getting Dignity Dialogue, but I wanted to be occupied myself so we can meet friends. Now we are meeting on the Zoom every day, meeting people. So that also keeps an activity. Listening to your nice talk also is a good this thing, informative thing. Very nice of you both. Thank you very much. So I just want to put my things. Yeah, physical exercise does help. I am fit because of that. There is no other disease as such. Diabetes by the grace of God. Or BP is there, but I take tablet for that regularly. For the last 4
Very
years,
nice
I
of
have got.
you, sir. Very nice of you. Nice to hear your routine. Very nice, and thanks for this updation. I request all my members to follow this busy schedule to keep their brain active. So thank you, sir. And
Thank
so
you.
I think we can make that group question thing as doctor suggested, and we'll update you soon on that to all our members and coordinators. Definitely we'll do that. So you can put in your questions in that. Every minute things can be answered by our group of doctors from NIMHANS. And I would like to give my special thanks to Dr. Shilu Srinivasan, who is a part of this discussion today. And rightly said, Madam runs 2 dementia centers, one in Mumbai and one is in Chennai. With in the introduction where Mukta mentioned that we have a free pickup, drop services, and many other activities for all our dementia patients there in those 2 places. And wish is to have more such centers in all our cities where we are operating as Dignity Foundation. And my special thanks to Girish sir and Suvarna madam. So other thanks from our members so that we can just conclude this session and give them a log out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda madam. Thank you very much. It was a
Thank you very much.
wonderful
Yeah.
session. Wonderful
Yeah.
session.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Happy day.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Girish, Dr. Suvarna. Thank you very much, sir.
So we'll come back to you with loads of questions and we'll keep ourselves engaged with all these activities. And exclusively for our Bangalore members, we can have some yoga sessions and brain stimulation sessions and all. Recently, we are coming up, our physical centers also opened. So I'll talk to you, Girish, sir, regarding this, and we can start up with that.
Sure.
Brinda, also,
Okay.
Brinda,
Thank you.
also for
Yes, sir.
our dementia centers in
Yes,
Chennai
yes.
and
I know.
Mumbai, if we can organize something online
Yeah.
You know, with the help of Dr. Girish and Suvarna, I'll be really great help.
Definitely, sir. We'll coordinate regarding that.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sujay, sir.
Message.
Thank you, Dr. Sujay.
Condolence message. Understand?
Yeah. Okay. So can we end this session, ma'am?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Brinda.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for engaging our brains.
Thanks, everyone.